2 weeks before our wedding, my fiance told me she needed a weekend alone with her ex to get closure. And when I refused, her entire family turned on me like I was the problem. She went anyway, slept in a cabin with the guy she claimed not to have feelings for, then came back expecting me to just forgive and pick up where we left off. I was gaslit, guilt tripped, and shamed for having boundaries while she paraded around with her ex like nothing happened. But when the truth came out, and it did, they all came crawling back, and I made damn sure they knew. I wasn't the one who lost something priceless. Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I, 29M, was engaged to my fiance, 27F, and we were supposed to get married last spring. We had been together for almost 4 years, and our wedding was scheduled for late May. Invitations were sent out, deposits were paid, and the venue was locked in. I genuinely believed I had found the person I was going to grow old with. I've never felt this kind of connection with anyone before, and I thought we had built a solid foundation, years of trust, communication, mutual support. That belief fell apart 2 weeks before the wedding. Before I get to what happened, I want to give some context because if I just jump to the insane thing she asked me, it won't make sense. You'll probably think, no way, someone just pulls this out of nowhere. I didn't think so either, but hindsight is brutal. We met at a mutual friend's New Year's Eve party in 2019. It wasn't one of those dramatic fireworks style moments, but something quieter, easy. She was warm, thoughtful, and had this calm energy that I really gravitated toward. We started dating shortly after that. Things progressed quickly. We moved in together after about a year, and I proposed at the end of 2022 during a trip to the Oregon coast. She cried when I asked, happy tears. At least that's what I thought. We were one of those annoyingly functional couples. Or so I believed. We cooked together, shared playlists, watched documentaries in bed. We weren't perfect, but we talked through things, fought fair, cried together when her dog died, repainted our apartment during lockdown. We took engagement photos in a forest and joked about how we were becoming that couple. I mention all this because I want to make it clear that there were no huge red flags, no obvious signs. Not until later. Not until there was one part of her life that always felt like a shadow. Her ex, Caleb. They had dated for 5 years in their early 20s. According to her, they broke up because he wasn't ready to settle down and she wanted more. It sounded pretty mutual and drama-y, at least on the surface. In the early days of our relationship, she mentioned him a few times in the lessons I've learned kind of way. I didn't push. Everyone has a past, but sometimes I'd notice little things like her still following his family on Instagram or keeping some old photos saved in a hidden folder on her phone. I stumbled across them when she asked me to find a picture to print for her mom's birthday. When I brought it up once, she said it was just nostalgia and not a big deal. She wasn't secretive exactly, but there was this tightness whenever his name came up. It made me uncomfortable, but I chalked it up to normal emotional residue. They had history. That's not something you erase cleanly. Over time, I let it go. We spent most of 2023 planning the wedding. It was going to be small but elegant, about 70 guests. We picked a beautiful venue that overlooked the water. I paid for most of it, which I didn't mind. She had taken a pay cut to work at a nonprofit she cared deeply about, and I was doing well in my field. I work in systems engineering. I believed in partnership and being there for each other. I met with the caterers. She handled florals. We fought over tablecloth colors and laughed about how wedding planning really was as stressful as people said. But I loved her. She was my person. I never doubted that. Around March, things started feeling off. Not drastically, but subtly. She was quieter, a little distant. I chalked it up to wedding stress. Her mom was a perfectionist nightmare, constantly calling her about the guest list, the dress fitting, seating arrangements. Her younger brother had just dropped out of college and was causing chaos at home. She was juggling a lot. We had a long talk one night in April about how burned out she felt. She cried and said she just wanted to fast forward to the part where we were lying in bed together, married, everything behind us. I told her we'd get there, that I'd shoulder more of the work, that we were a team. I believed that with everything in me, her family always had a strange vibe. Not outright cruel, just passive-aggressive in this very specific way. Her mother, in particular, had this habit of giving compliments with barbed hooks in them. Oh, you're lucky you can afford the wedding. Just make sure you don't lose yourself, sweetie. Or when I offer to cook dinner during one of our family visits, wow, a man in the kitchen. Aren't you domesticated? Stuff like that. Her brother was your classic golden child disaster. Dropped out of school twice, unemployed, but somehow never wrong. Her father mostly stayed quiet, checked out emotionally unless someone brought up lawn care or stocks. They never liked me much, but I always chalked it up to clashing personalities. I wasn't flashy. I didn't go on about my salary or drive a BMW. I'm low key. I thought being stable, supportive, and kind would be enough. Maybe it wasn't enough for them. 1 week before the wedding, she started asking me strange philosophical questions. What do you think soulmates really are? Do you believe people can love two people at once? Do you think closure is necessary before a big life step? At the time, I thought she was just dealing with nerves. Cold feet, so I gave her space, encouraged her to talk. Big mistake. It was exactly 12 days before the wedding. We were sitting on the couch after dinner. I had just finished washing up and she was unusually quiet. I thought maybe she was tired or her mom had been stressing her out again. I asked if she was okay and she said she needed to talk to me about something important. She was nervous, the kind of nervous where her voice trembled, and she couldn't make eye contact. My heart started sinking before she even said anything. I need to ask you something, she said, holding my hand but not looking at me. And I know it's going to sound strange, but I need you to hear me out before you react. I didn't say anything, just nodded, trying to keep my breathing steady. I need to spend a weekend with Caleb. I stared at her. I thought maybe I misheard. What? Just listen, please, she said quickly. I've been carrying around a lot of unresolved feelings. I thought I was over them, and maybe I mostly am, but I realized I never really got closure with him. We ended things without properly processing it. There were a lot of things left unsaid. I thought I could move on cleanly, but with the wedding so close, it's been gnawing at me. I asked her what she meant by spend a weekend. She said she wanted to go to a cabin he rented just to talk and reconnect emotionally. No sex, she promised. Just talking, processing, healing. You want to go away with your ex for a weekend at 2 weeks before our wedding to get closure? I asked, still trying to wrap my head around it. Yes, I know it's unconventional, but I need to do this for me, for us. She said it like this was some rational, mature, even noble thing to do, like it would strengthen our marriage. I need to know for sure that I've let him go, and I need to see him face to face to do that. Once that door is fully closed, I'll be able to walk through ours completely. I sat in stunned silence. Then I asked the obvious, why now? She said she'd been thinking about it for months, but didn't want to bring it up until she was sure she needed it. The timing, she admitted, wasn't ideal, but she felt she'd regret it if she didn't do it before the wedding. You've had years to get closure, I said. Why does it have to be a private weekend alone with him right now? She said something that made my skin crawl. Because we need to say goodbye the right way to fully put it to rest. There was a silence between us after that. She was searching my face, waiting for me to say I understood, that I trusted her, that I loved her enough to let her go so she could come back to me whole. Instead, I said, if you go, we're done. She immediately teared up. I knew you'd say that. I was hoping you'd understand. I don't want to lose you over this. You already have. If you think this is okay, she got up angry now, the tears turning sharp. Accused me of not trusting her, of being insecure, of having a fragile ego. I told her I wasn't going to marry someone who needed one last goodbye. F asterisk 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 with her ex to heal. That I wasn't some safety net or consolation prize after she scratched her nostalgia itch. She swore it wasn't like that it wasn't about sex. It wasn't about choosing him. Just emotional honesty. I didn't care. I told her she was free to go do whatever she needed with him, but I wouldn't be there when she got back. She left that night to stay with her mom. Said she needed space to process everything. I didn't sleep. I just sat there staring at our wedding board. Guest lists, table charts, flower samples, all carefully taped and arranged. It suddenly looked like the aftermath of an accident. The next day, her mom called me. She opened with a sign and said, "You're really going to throw away something this beautiful over one weekend?" I almost laughed. I told her I wasn't the one throwing it away. Her daughter did that when she made her choice. She went on a long rant about how love requires sacrifice, how men are too prideful, how I was overreacting, that Caleb was part of her daughter's story and this was just cleaning up emotional debris before a new chapter. She even tried to pull the "you're so secure and mature. I thought you'd understand" line. I hung up. Then I started getting texts from her brother, from two of her friends, even one of my friends who said, "It's not that big of a deal, man. She's just trying to be sure." That means she takes marriage seriously. It was like I was in the middle of a coordinated PR campaign. Everyone trying to convince me that I was the unstable one for not being okay with this. Even my mother, my sweet conflict-averse mom called and said, "I know this sounds wild, but maybe it really is just about closure. If you love her, maybe give her the chance." I couldn't believe it. I told her, "If dad asked to sleep with an ex before marrying you, would you have stayed?" She was quiet for a long time before saying, "I guess not." Exactly. A few days passed. No calls from my fiance, just silence. Then a text. "I'm going this weekend. I hope someday you'll understand." That was it. No apology, no recognition of what she was throwing away, no responsibility, just choosing him. I canceled everything, the venue, the catering, the suit rental. I called every guest personally and told them the wedding was off. Some were confused, some were angry, some asked what happened. I didn't give details, I just said it wasn't happening. Word spread fast. And the worst part, most of the narrative became I dumped her, that I got cold feet, that I panicked and bailed. She didn't correct anyone. A few of her friends blocked me. Some mutuals ghosted me completely. I lost my deposit on the venue. $6,000 gone. I didn't care. I just wanted out. I was humiliated, broken, and still trying to convince myself I wasn't crazy. But that was just the beginning. The weekend she left to see Caleb, I didn't leave my apartment. I turned off my phone after the fifth or sixth message from people asking if the wedding was really canceled. My place was still full of boxes for reception decor, groomsmen gifts, DIY signs we had worked on together. I couldn't bring myself to throw them out yet. I just sat with it, sat in the silence, tried to process what had just happened to my life. There was a moment Saturday night around midnight where I almost texted her. Not to ask her to come back, just ask why, but I didn't because I knew whatever answer she gave would only make me feel worse. Sunday evening, she came back. I knew because her car wasn't in front of her mom's house anymore. I didn't hear from her until Monday night. She sent me one message. "I'm back. I still love you. I hope we can talk when you're ready." I stared at that text for so long it felt like it was burning a hole into my screen. I didn't respond. It wasn't just that she had gone, it was the sheer audacity of expecting to be able to come back. Like I had been on pause. Like I would be waiting. Like her sleeping in another man's arms one last time was something I was supposed to process and accept. I posted a vague rant to Reddit that night on a throwaway. No details, just me venting into the void. It didn't help much, but strangers told me what my own people hadn't, that I wasn't wrong. The next few days were hell. She didn't show up at my place, she didn't call again, but the world around me kept spinning, shoving me along with it. Her family started reaching out again. This time, the tone had changed. Less righteous, more let's not let a little mistake ruin something beautiful. Her mother actually said the words, "I thought you loved her enough to forgive." I didn't reply. Her brother DM'd me with something truly insane. "Look, man, you got your tantrum out. Now be an adult. She chose you." I wanted to scream. I wanted to show them all just how warped they sounded. But I stayed quiet. I went to work. I came home. I tried to breathe. People were talking. That much I knew. My social media was still tagged in posts about the wedding. Her Instagram was quiet. No updates, no apologies, no acknowledgments, just a blackout. And then a message from one of her bridesmaids, someone I had always gotten along with, though we weren't especially close. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how everything went down. You didn't deserve that. That was it. No follow up, no explanations, but it was the first sign that maybe the story she was telling the world wasn't holding up. Another week passed. I started getting weird looks from some mutuals when I went out. One even asked me, "So, what really happened with you two?" She's saying you flipped out over nothing. Over nothing. I told him the truth, just the basic facts that she had asked to spend a weekend with her ex for closure, and I ended things when she went through with it. His face changed. He muttered, "Jesus," and we didn't talk much after that. 2 more weeks went by. I had started therapy. I needed it. I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, constantly second guessing whether I had overreacted, whether I was too rigid, too unforgiving. The gaslighting had taken root deeper than I realized. And then it happened. I got a call from a mutual friend, someone who had stayed neutral the whole time. She was always diplomatic, never took sides, but she had just come from a get-together where my ex-fiance showed up with Caleb, holding hands, laughing together. Apparently, they'd soft-launched their relationship the weekend of our canceled wedding, but were now official. She was introducing him as her partner, saying things like, "It just kind of happened." You know, after the dust settled, we realized what was still there. She rebranded the whole thing. In her version of events, the wedding fell apart due to emotional incompatibility, and I had been closed off and unwilling to support her growth. Caleb was just someone who showed up at the right time, someone who helped her realize she deserved more. I was stunned, but also finally vindicated. She hadn't gone to get closure. She had gone to reopen a door she never wanted to close in the first place. Another week later, the same bridesmaid who sent me the apology earlier messaged again. This time with screenshots, texts between her and my ex from before the closure talk, conversations about Caleb, about how he'd reached out months ago, about how she had been dreaming about him lately, about how they'd started messaging just to talk, and it had turned into late night calls, reminiscing, and plans to see each other again and talk things through. The cabin weekend booked 3 weeks before she ever brought it up to me. My stomach turned. It wasn't an impulsive act of emotional panic. It was calculated. A plan. She had tested the waters with him, then decided to hedge her bets. If it went poorly, she'd come back to me and never tell me. If it went well, she'd figure something out. I had been a contingency plan, the safe bet, the one she kept warm until she was sure this spark with her ex still had oxygen. That night, I cried. Not out of heartbreak, out of rage. I had been played, lied to, gaslit, and made out to be the villain for refusing to co-sign my own betrayal. I opened my laptop and started writing. I didn't post anything for attention. I wasn't trying to cancel her or drag her name through the mud. I just wanted the truth out there. But once I started writing, it all poured out. I explained how we'd been together for 4 years, how we were engaged for over a year, how I had built a life around this woman emotionally, financially, socially, and how 2 weeks before our wedding, she told me she needed to go away with her ex for a weekend to get closure. I left out some personal details. No names, no location, no doxing, but I laid it bare. The cabin weekend, the manipulative justifications, the pressure from her family and friends to accept it, and how she followed through with it. Anyway, I made one thing clear. She was entitled to her feelings, to her doubts, even to her past. But she wasn't entitled to cheat and disguise it as emotional growth. She wasn't entitled to rewrite history and paint me as the unreasonable one when I refused to tolerate betrayal. I posted it anonymously, but the people who knew. The post blew up. Thousands of comments. Most of them outraged on my behalf. People couldn't believe she had the audacity to plan a weekend away with her ex and expect me to be okay with it. Some shared their own stories. Others thanked me for standing up for myself. But the real impact came when people started putting two and two together. Mutuals recognized the timeline. Some realized the truth they'd been told wasn't the whole story. Others confronted her directly. Apparently, she tried to deny it at first, said it was just a weekend to reflect and that I had twisted it to make her look bad. But the screenshots, they started circulating quietly. Group chats, DMs, people comparing notes. Her story collapsed. That same bridesmaid who had been feeding me info texted again. She's losing it. Everyone's turning on her. She tried to cry her way through brunch this morning, but nobody's buying it anymore. I didn't feel happy. Not yet. It wasn't about revenge. It was about relief, like finally getting clean air after months of breathing smoke. And then came her message. 3 paragraphs. I never wanted to hurt you. I just needed clarity. And I made a mistake. I thought you'd understand. And I realized now how unfair it was. Things with Caleb, they're not what I thought. He's not who I remembered. I miss you. I miss us. I know it's probably too late, but if you ever want to talk, I'm here. I'll always love you. I didn't reply, but I reread it probably 50 times. Each time it felt more pathetic, like watching a magician scramble after their final trick flopped. She thought she'd found something better. She thought I'd be there waiting in case it didn't work out. And now, when the dust had cleared, she realized what she'd thrown away. A week later, her brother messaged me. He had been one of the most vocal defenders of her choices at the time. No, I owe you an apology. I really didn't know the full story. I thought you were just being controlling. But man, that whole thing was so F asterisk 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 edition. I'm sorry for how I treated you. Even her mother emailed me. Yes, emailed a long message about how she had misjudged the situation and how people make mistakes, especially when emotions are high. She didn't ask for us to get back together, but she asked if I could forgive her for how she had spoken to me for assuming I was the one being unreasonable. I didn't reply to that either because I wasn't going to keep playing a role in her redemption arc. It took weeks to untangle everything else. Wedding vendors, my finances, shared accounts. I had to move out of the place we were supposed to share. I lost money, I lost friends, but I got something back that was worth more than all of it, my self-respect. A few people reached out and said they were sorry for how they had judged me. Some I forgave. Others I let drift away. I wasn't angry anymore, just done. I got promoted at work a couple months later. I started traveling again. I saw a therapist weekly. I deleted every photo of her off my phone. I moved to a new apartment. I started running. I got back into music. I went out with friends I hadn't seen in years, and for the first time in a long, long while, I felt okay. Not perfect, not over it, but okay. The last I heard, Caleb dumped her. Apparently, he wasn't ready to be serious after all. Told her he missed the freedom he used to have and didn't want to play house. She posted some vague quote about healing alone and learning to let go of those who can't grow with you. Whatever. Let her heal, let her grow, but not with me. I don't hate her. Not anymore. But I pity her because one day she's going to wake up and realize she destroyed something real for the fantasy of a fire that had already gone out, and she'll never get it back. As for me, I don't know what comes next, but I do know this. I won't settle for someone who needs to cheat to find themselves. I won't compromise my dignity to make someone else feel more evolved. And if being firm, if having standards makes me the villain in someone else's story, so be it. I'd rather be the villain in her narrative than the fool in my own. It's been almost a year now. It doesn't feel like it. Some days it still feels like I'm waking up in the middle of it, like I'm in a dream. And she's about to walk through the door, tell me it was all a mistake, and we'll go back to picking out centerpieces. But then I remember she's not coming back. And even if she did, I wouldn't want her. I moved to a different city 3 months ago. Nothing drastic, just far enough away to not bump into her family at the grocery store. Far enough that when I wake up, I don't feel the old routines clawing at the edges of my mind. I got a new job. I started volunteering. I adopted a dog. I read more now. I talk less. I don't feel the need to explain myself the way I used to. Sometimes I still think about that weekend. Not with pain anymore. More like someone touching a scar they forgot they had. It's just part of me now. A reminder. It took a while for the anger to burn out. Not at her. So much as the people who made me feel like I was crazy for drawing a boundary. The people who acted like love meant bending until you broke. Who called me selfish for walking away from something that was already on fire. That kind of betrayal leaves marks not just on your heart, on your sense of reality. It makes you question every instinct, every judgment. It makes you afraid to trust again. But I've learned something important. Boundaries aren't ultimatums, they're self-respect. Forgiveness isn't owed, it's earned and love. Real love, not the Disney kind, not the soulmate kind, but the kind that lasts is built on choices. Not nostalgia, not chemistry, not drama. Choices. She didn't choose me, not when it counted. And that's okay. I heard through the grapevine that she's back on dating apps. Some friends say she talks about doing the work. She posts about healing, empowerment, energy. Maybe she's changed, maybe she hasn't. I don't care, I haven't dated since her. I'm not in a rush. I want something that's boring in the best way, something calm, kind, mutual. I want someone who doesn't need to burn down their past to feel alive. Someone who won't make me prove I'm worth staying faithful to. I still get messages now and then about the Reddit post. People finding it months later, thanking me, telling me it helped them leave a toxic relationship, telling me it gave them words they hadn't found yet. That means something to me. That maybe what I went through wasn't pointless. Sometimes I still see her in my dreams, not in a romantic way. Usually we're just talking, and I always wake up thinking, thank God it's over. I don't need revenge. I don't need closure from her because I am the closure. I ended the story on my terms. I chose dignity. I chose peace. And when I finally find the right person, someone who knows what love really means, I'll be ready. Not because I've forgotten what she did, but because I finally remember who I am. Thanks for watching.